Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Emily Campagno, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Tyrus. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump turning up the heat on crime in D.C., and the numbers are speaking for themselves. So, for the past 11 days, there has not been a single murder in our nation's capital. Police have racked up over 1,000 arrests, and 49 homeless encampments have been cleared. Now the president's looking to keep that momentum going. He just signed an executive order to stop the revolving door of repeat offenders, taking direct aim at cashless bail.
If you look at the top 25 cities that for crime, just about every one of those cities is run by Democrats. And you know, one of the bad things they did, cashless bail, if you look back on time, when they allowed a murderer out that afternoon, you know, he'd kill somebody and then a couple of hours later he's walking the streets again, oftentimes killing again rapidly. Cashless bail is a disaster.
And it could be coming to a city near you. President Trump sees the D.C. crime crackdown as a successful model for other blue cities. And earlier, he threatened Chicago that it could be next.
I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there. I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person. We may wait. We may or may not. We may just go in and do it, which is probably what we should do.
But Chicago's leaders are not taking Trump's law and order proposal lightly. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson both blasting the idea of the National Guard in the Windy City.
Going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people in this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny.
I am on the path on the lakefront at 6 a.m. on a Monday. It doesn't feel like a hellhole here. In fact, everybody's having a great time and enjoying themselves.
So, Emily, at 6 a.m. on a Monday on the waterfront in Chicago, it doesn't look like a hellhole.
That's right. And that's
what a surprise.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is that when they try to gimmick in response to what is actually sincere and deep appreciation for American safety, then it's always going to fall flat. And I want to point out a little bit, because all of this cashless bail that the president is trying to end, I want to talk about that specifically because it's a precursor to a lot of things. And in Texas, just in the Houston area alone, over 200 cases of low or no cash bonds who got out, they assaulted or killed someone. In Harris County, Texas, 115 residents killed just in 1 year alone. These are all of the people that get out with that low or cashless bail. And when you talk about deep statistics, on the $0 bail, 70% are rearrested. Now, this is in Yolo County, California, which is where I'm from, so I took it as a statistic that's important in Northern California. Those kinds of suspects are nearly 3 times more likely to be rearrested for violent crimes, including domestic violence, and a third of those violent rearrests are for DV. And it goes on. So I don't quite understand why these Democratic leaders feel so strongly about sort of selling out all of their residents in order to just have the president look bad. Mm-hmm. I understand that there's federalism issues, and that's why there will be a difficult time imposing an EO on what is traditionally, obviously, state and local realms crime. But at the end of the day, it's up to these guys in the state and local level to vote this cashless bail out, to make it known that everyone supports these kind of policies that the president is putting down, because it's the state and local residents that are paying the price for the Dems not seeing this.
And Tyrus, getting the Democrats to defend basically lawlessness in Chicago by saying they're going to take legal action to stop it is a little bit of dissonance.
Yeah. I keep trying to find the opposition argument to this because, Jesse, I think you coined the phrase 80-20. Argument.
Yeah, that'd be Jesse.
Jesse coined the phrase. You should probably trademark that. This is a 99.5 to 0.5. How can you, with a straight face, say, no, we don't want low crime? We don't want American soldiers coming in and helping our depleted police force. Whether you like it or not, good, bad, or indifferent, you had 10 million undocumented people come to this country and spread variously all through the country. Everyone who traveled saw the midnight. We can't get red-eye flights, but they were getting red-eye flights to all over the country. And now we had defund the police, we had don't respect the police, we had massive police retirements, police officers, they go out, they arrest the guy, an hour later, they got to rearrest him. So the police department is depleted. And here's the next bet. If I was in the White House, this is one of the first things I would do. Clean up your streets. Instead of sending our military men and women out to other places to make other countries safe, make our streets safe. How is this an argument? If you don't like it, what's not to like? Other than that you have to tip your hat to the orange devil. That's the problem. Then you know what? Find a way, like, steal it and make it your own. Like, no, you will not bring in 1,500 National Guards. We will only allow 1,200. And then call it a victory.
Right.
Clean up your neighborhoods. Leave the politicians out to go out on the ocean, on the waterfront at 6 o'clock in the morning. But notice he wasn't filming himself. I wonder who was with him. Perhaps his detail?
Right.
You know, like this is laughable. Clean up your cities. I don't understand it.
Jesse, the fight against crime has been one of the best. Let's see what Trump can do to put out some bait and see how many Democrats will take it.
Yeah, they're falling into a trap. And so Axios, disparagingly, Dana, said that Trump is molding D.C. into his own personal Epcot Center. Yeah. A political theme park where troops keep the peace and the White House glitters like Mar-a-Lago. What's wrong with Epcot Center? I love Epcot Center. I got food poisoning eating there, but it was safe and secure and beautiful. And if the president wants to make these cities look like Epcot, I'm for it. The guys now in D.C. are carrying, I think, 9mm and M4 rifles, and they're letting the police go into the bad neighborhoods and get the bad guys. That's not controversial. That's like what happens when you usually have a strike force come in and take scalps. The New York Post had some crazy examples of some of these people that got off on bail. They had 2 convicted killers arrested in Greenwich Village, down where my friend Harold Ford Jr. lives. They were trafficking drugs in the park, and they let him out for free. Or they have a pickpocket guy. He's been busted 45 times.
Oh, my
45 times. And he just gets let out every time. They arrested a Tren de Aragua gang member. Dana, am I saying that correctly?
Yes,
Tren
it sounds
de
very
Aragua?
good. Very good.
Wanted for homicide. They arrested him, no bail. So that's just crazy, and everybody agrees. They're saying this is not a top issue. Crime was a top issue in November. Crime was a bigger issue than foreign affairs and the deficit. So if Trump is manufacturing a crisis, homicide is not a crisis. This culture war the Dems tried to wage with like trans and race doesn't stand a chance when it comes to crime and immigration. And it's not only good for policy, because obviously saving lives is important, it's great politics. You're going to send ICE guys to cities, and you're going to send National Guard to cities, and you're going to go city by city, week by week, and you're going to force the Democrats to defend crime and illegal aliens over and over and over again. Now, a majority of the crime is black on black, and I don't hear any black leaders besides Harold Ford, Tyrus, and myself talking about the need to reduce crime in these neighborhoods. Where is Barack Obama? Homicides exploded under Joe Biden in his home city of Chicago, not Honolulu, Chicago. And he didn't say a word. It went from 600, 700, 800. Barack said nothing. What about Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton was sitting cross-legged at Martha's Vineyard next to Joy Reid the other day. He never talks about black-on-black crime. Donald Trump should win an NAACP Image Award if he can clean up, don't laugh, if he could clean up these black communities, because it is a real problem. He can put it next to the Nobel Peace Prize.
Harold, is anyone wrong? Do you see it a little bit differently?
I don't. It's good to be back around the table. I agree 100%. I'd be a supporter of President Trump getting that award. Let's step back. We deserve a lot of credit around this table for encouraging the president to do this. I think the U.S. attorney there obviously is a big instigator of these things, Ms. Pirro, our friend. But we've been saying for a while the president should sign an executive order ending cashless bail. They obviously have, as Emily rightly pointed out, their federal government has a different relationship with Washington, D.C. and can do these things. 2, what I don't understand, both sides seem to revel in trying to blame the other. Democrats, Republicans, everybody probably deserves a little blame here. Maybe one party deserves more than the other. But if I were the president, you can do this in Washington, and you should absolutely do it. In fact, I hope you send the National Guard to neighborhoods where the black-on-black crime rate is higher than it should be, where it's tragically high. Send it to every neighborhood, not just to neighborhoods where a couple of upper middle class people hang out and have dinner and socialize and go to clubs. Send it to all the neighborhoods. I'm a big believer that any politician, black or white, that resists that, to your point, Tyrus, is foolish, is playing a dangerous and ugly kind of politics. For those Democratic governors who say, well, we can't go to the White House because he's not going to be on the level with us. Remember this, President Trump, less than 3 weeks ago, called for the firing of the head of Intel. He said that he was might have been too close to China. Today it was announced that the president, with that same CEO, still the head of Intel, that we, the American people, are going to invest about $12 billion and take a stake in the company. President Trump can be persuaded. He welcomed Vladimir Putin to Alaska to try to deal with Ukraine. Let's go to the White House and figure out what is it that you need as governors of all these states. I think Governor Moore, who I think is doing a great job in Maryland, invited the president to come to Baltimore and walk the streets with him. I hope they're able to do this because, Tyrus, to your point, these are real problems that real people in real neighborhoods are experiencing. Can you imagine if they went in and figured out how to break these gangs up, how to break the mafia up in these cities, and they were working with local law enforcement and working with the governors? And if the governors, to the president's credit, if they choose not to be helpful, I'm one that says send them anyway. Because if you live in a neighborhood where crime is rampant, where violence is rampant, where you fear for your life, you don't really care what the Democratic governor or the Republican governor or the Democratic mayor or the socialist mayor, what they may be saying. You want your neighborhoods to be protected. So I say more power to you. I just hope they're able to collaborate and work together.
Piggyback real quick. They do realize that if you clean up the crime in these cities, you bring businesses back.
Yeah.
You bring mom and pops back. You get actual grocery stores where the kids are no longer in grocery deserts. You fix a community by protecting it.
Totally. The guy that sits in your chair most nights, Greg Gutfeld, deserves a lot of credit because he's been asking for the president to sign an executive order to do this. This is a good start, Mr. President. I hope you keep going.
All right, up next, the Democrats head to summer camp, and Tim Walz got really mad.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.